So the research investigation is essentially an essay that is data driven. Now what is this essay going to be about for us if we're going to have a quick look at that criteria sheet or that task sheet? What is it about? Nuclear energy. Now there's two reasons why we're doing secondary data for this. Obviously testing our own data is not going to be possible, so we can't exactly just whip up a nuclear power plant in the lab tech's office, and it's a good chance for us to engage in some scientific investigation. My best piece of advice is understand what's going on. Understand the topic well, and the rest will work itself out. The difference between good students and students who struggle with this task every year is that the good essays are written by kids that understand the concepts, understand the intricacies of nuclear power. Because if it was an easy answer, if it was easy, what do you think would happen? Like if it was definitely a good idea or definitely a bad idea, what would we'd either be using it, or we'd all be using it, or no one would be using it, correct? But it's not as simple as that. So there's a whole lot of intricacy involved with this task, and you show that by being critical and reflecting on how, you know, the pros and the cons of making a statement from there. Sweet. So the word count is 1,000 words. I'll be relatively tough on that because there is a skill in writing within a word count. I'm going to be a little bit more lenient than they are in senior, because in senior out of 1,000 they stop reading. I'll give you that plus or minus 10%. So if you're 1,100, I don't really care. Sweet. As you're constructing, when you finish your assignment, you're going to put the word count on that assignment. Sweet. We'll also do an electronic submission so I can check that without having to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Happy with that? Yeah. That also helps with plagiarism. What we need to do is to find secondary data to investigate our claims. We have 2 claims here. What are they?
Nuclear power should be a main source in Australia, and nuclear power is a safe energy source.
Okay, so you've got 2 pretty general claims. What do I mean by general?
There's a lot of stuff to cover.
Yeah, it could cover heaps of different things. What do I mean by safety? What do I mean by should be? What do I mean by nuclear power? There's not just one sort of nuclear power, there's heaps of different sorts. Cool. So we need to break that down, and that's how you get the variability. So it's a simple claim, and you break that down using a research question. Now you need to define, in your rationale, you need to explain what those terms mean for your essay. So if you're going to talk about safety, well, what does safety mean? We talk about safety for the average person, we talk about safety for the mine, we talk about air pollution, we talk about climate change. There's all sorts of things you can talk about. Should be, are we talking about from an economical point of view? Are we talking about from a health and economic point of view? We're talking about long-term long-term ability to perform that. There's all sorts of things we can talk about. You're then going to develop a research question and evaluate that using evidence from a couple of sources. Sweet? Are we happy with that? On the bottom here, you've got a checklist of what you should be doing. So as you go through and you've identified each of those things, you're going to go through and tick it. So the first thing you need to do is what?
Select a claim.
Select a claim. So pick one of those 2 claims. Really, I wouldn't get too bogged down. Now you have got a third alternative where you can pick your own claim. My advice would be steer away from that probably. These claims are pretty good, and they're made so you can understand that there's plenty of breadth to go with. But if you want to go off in your own path, I'm more than willing to negotiate that. You're going to identify the key scientific concepts associated with the claims. That's where you're saying, well, this is what nuclear power means. This is what safety means. This is what, what's another example? Main energy source. What does it mean by main energy source? All power stations, most power stations, some power stations. You're then going to create a research question, post a research question to evaluate your claim, one aspect of your claim. You don't have to evaluate the whole aspect of your claim, just one aspect of it. Cool? So is nuclear power safe? Or is nuclear power safer than coal power? Make sense?
We need to say what we think it would be at the end.
Well, yeah, so there's a whole structure to it. Right? I'm not going to get you too bogged down in the structure of it today. I just want you to get a start, because if I give you too much, you'll lose a bit of direction. So I'm just trying to get you to identify a claim. I'll probably play some videos in a few minutes about nuclear power so we can see the pros, the cons, and where we're going with it, to give you some background, and then we'll try and get you to develop a claim and then maybe break down or pick a claim and then break down your topics. Cool? That's the goal for today. Any questions about that before we go on? Sweet.